going on, guys, and welcome back to another Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon Wi-Fi battle. Today I have another NU match. This one's against Alice here, and I am using the team where I was testing out our new buddies Decidueye and Quagsire, who recently got dropped down into NU, and I noticed that she also has a Quagsire of her own, so that's pretty cool. Other than that, her team is, kind of scary. I am afraid of some stuff like the Houndoom. That thing can put in some work. Also, the Archeops is pretty damn scary. I do really want to get up Stealth Rock for that thing, get it into Defeatist as early as possible. And I do take note of that Magmortar. It really puts in work against this team, as long as I can play it correctly. So I do want to conserve that thing. But anyway, let's go ahead and just jump right into the battle here. So I'm just going to lead off with my Uxie. I'm expecting probably Aggron here. So I send out my Mixie. Comes out looking nice and sleepy, ready to get up some Stealth Rock here, as she actually ends up leading with the Alolan Persian. So this thing swallowed a whole ass watermelon, and I know he's probably going to go for taunt. Generally, lead Persians are going to taunt, try to get you to slip in on that Stealth Rock. So I just go right for the U-turn instead, and that's nice because it gets a little bit of super effective damage. Doesn't really do a whole lot, but this does allow me to pivot into a better matchup as I bring in my Hariyama, and this is a really nice matchup for me because Persian is pretty much allergic as shit to my fists, and look at the size of them bad boys. So it is going to obviously switch out. It goes for the parting shot, does lower my attack and special attack, which is fine because I'm just going to sit in here and just click knockoff and try to get rid of an item on whatever it decides to go into, as it brings in the Archeops. So that's actually really nice. The knockoff does a lot of damage, and I get rid of the citrus berry. So now when this thing gets weak, it's not going to be able to pop that and get back above Defeatist range, which is awesome. So now I'm going to bring in Swagsire. It's kind of my best matchup against this thing. It hits really hard with the acrobatics since it already got rid of its item here. So it does about half, but at least I'm able to take 2 of those, and I can scare this thing out with a Scald. So Archeops wants nothing to do with my big ass blue blob, and he decides to go ahead and U-turn, which actually does knock me pretty well below half, which is kind of a bummer. I could have gone full recover there, but I do just decide to go for the Scald. I really kind of wanted to catch a burn on something if possible, and in comes the Go-Goat, and to my surprise, I actually do get the Scald burn. Which is really unfortunate for her because that kind of really limits what Go-Goat can do here. I think it still can knock me out with a Horn Leech at this health, so I do really kind of want to get out of here, but getting the burn on that thing is really useful. So I don't really know what kind of set this thing is going to be. I'm expecting probably Bulk Up Sweeper, and that's really nice because it's pretty much handicapped as hell being burned there. So I decided to switch into my Magmortar. In comes the Hot Shot, as it ends up just going for the Elite Seed, which shows me it's more of a utility kind of set, which is actually better for her since it's burned, but it's still not going to be able to do too much damage, even with Earthquake, with that halved attack. So getting sapped by some Leech Seed over here, and then it gets hurt by the burn. And here I'm looking at the matchup, and I realize she does have that Houndoom, which generally carries Flash Fire. So I'm going to predict the switch into that thing and go for a Focus Blast, as that actually works out perfectly because in comes the Fire Hound, and Focus Blast does connect, and that is a dead pupper. So that is really nice. I don't have to worry about fast-ass Houndoom coming around and being annoying. So really worked out with that prediction there, as now she has a free matchup and decides to go into the Alolan Persian here. So I really do want to conserve my Magmortar because that thing is looking super useful later on. So I decided to go into Uxie here. Maybe I'll be able to get some Stealth Rock up, as this thing does end up going for the parting shot there, which I did predict. It doesn't really matter having a lower special attack. I really just kind of need Uxie here to get up that Stealth Rock. And here she's going to bring in the Archeops. So I'm going to go right for the Stealth Rock here, as this thing just goes for a Roost. I figured I could take at least 1 attack from this thing, but it is going to bring itself back to full there, which is kind of scary. Honestly, this thing's over there flapping its little heart out. I mean, your wings are not big enough, buddy. What's up with that? Looks like a hairless chicken. But I do get those rocks up, which is super nice because that's going to kind of limit the switches this thing can come into, as I take just about half from that acrobatics and I go for a psychic just to get some chip damage on this thing. And after leftovers, it's looking like I can take 1 more, and this is actually perfect because this sets Uxie up in a position where I can go for a memento and then get some stuff going. So the next acrobatics leaves me at 12 HP, which is awesome. I go ahead and just kamikaze this thing, go for the memento, which is going to harshly lower its attack, which is basically going to make this thing useless until it switches out. So now I can have a free switch into whatever I want, and I decide to bring in the Fire Boy himself, as now I know that this thing can't really hurt me too bad, even with like Rock Slide. So I'm going to go for a Fire Blast here, as in comes the Go-Goat pretty much as death fodder here. Maybe he was expecting a Thunderbolt be able to take a hit and potentially outspeed, and then Earthquake. I'm not really sure, but Fire Blast is going to go ahead and roast the shit out of that goat. And now there's a free switch, so it goes back into the Alolan Persian. This thing is pretty much just a pivot, and I know that she is really afraid of Magmortar at this point, so the parting shot is pretty obvious. Alolan Persian doesn't have much that could really hurt me too bad, so it is going to lower my special attack, but Magmortar is a damn monster, and I've always really liked this thing, but this match really kind of shows it shining. So in comes the Aggron, and I do connect on another Focus Blast. I was trying to land it on that Persian if it stayed in, but even with the lowered special attack, that is definitely going to knock that thing out. And I've said it before, but Magmortar is here to do two things, and that's chew bubblegum and kick ass, and we're all out of bubblegum, so there's nothing left to do. So back comes the watermelon face, and this thing is just going to have to really go for another parting shot again, just to lower my special attack another stage to see if Archeops can take at least one attack. So I'm looking not the best here offensively, but I decide to go ahead and try to make a prediction here. I go for the Hidden Power Grass, hoping that Quagsire was going to come in, but instead it's the Archeops. And that Hidden Power Grass actually still hurt quite a bit, but I'm getting hurt by some Life Orb here, and at this point it's kind of in my best interest just to let Magmortar die so that way I can have a revenge switch. I've torn up the team enough with this thing to the point where I feel like the rest of my dudes can take care of it, but it actually ends up going for the Roost as I go for a T-Bolt there, and it's not really getting anywhere with that strategy. So it ends up going for a Rock Slide and actually misses, which is just kind of honestly the icing on the cake there. That was a really unfortunate Rock Slide miss. I told her sorry. I was like, right, RNGesus just really hated you there. So that is quite unfortunate. Although I did have Sucker Punch Decidueye along with Bullet Punch Hariyama to be able to take that thing out after Magmortar went down. So I guess I was kind of prepared, but then again it could have roosted and it would have really changed the match. But Rock Slide is always kind of a bitch. So in comes the Persian. It is going to be able to take me out with Foul Play since I hurt myself enough with my Life Orb. And down goes my Duck Face. So now I can bring back in the Hariyama, who's looking thick as hell, full health, and ready to kind of slap some shit around. So her last Pokemon is going to be that Quagsire, so it's just Quagsire and a Lowland Persian. In comes the derpiest boy in all the land, and it is going to take a close combat, and that does a whole lot of damage because Hariyama hits like a damn truck. And honestly, I feel like Quagsire does belong in NU. It's not good enough as a defensive wall to kind of last itself in UU. But after some leftover, it's going to bring it to about half. I go for another close combat here, hoping that I can maybe get some max damage, but it is going to leave it in the red, and I'm just lowering my special defense and defense here quite a bit, as it is going to go for a recover. So my close combat just barely doesn't do enough to knock this thing out. If I was Life Orb rather than Assault Vest, I'd be sitting pretty good, but after some leftovers, it's obviously not in range to kill. And I have a perfectly good grass type on my team, so I'm going to switch right into Robin Hood here, as I know this thing can't really hurt me too bad unless it really has, like, Ice Beam. But he's going to go ahead and recover again, which puts it at full health. Although I do know that a Leaf Blade is going to absolutely destroy this thing. So I just go ahead and click Leaf Blade here, as she is going to switch back into freaking Normal, who has come in like 15 damn times. And my Leaf Blade actually doesn't do much. Decidueye really does need a Swords Dance to be able to do much. Or this is just a max defense Persian? I don't know. That thing took that really nicely. But I'm just going to switch right back into Hariyama. I have honestly the upper hand at this point because I really have the matchup for everything, as the Foul Play is not going to hurt too bad. Still does quite a bit though. And rather than predicting the switch into the Quagsire, I'm just going to stay in here and click Close Combat, as she ends up just going for a Toxic, which is not too big of a deal because Hariyama's not going to stay in long enough for that to really, stack up. So the CC is going to knock that thing out. I'm finally able to pop that balloon head of his, and down goes that thing. So all that's left is going to be that Quagsire, which I am pretty fit to handle because I do have a Decidueye, and that thing can't really hurt me too bad. So in comes Giggity, the Quagmire, and I am just going to actually end up switching right into Decidueye here. And this thing actually does end up having Ice Beam, which you don't really see on a whole lot of Quagsires. But it does carry Ice Beam, which I was kind of surprised. Although it's not going to hurt too bad because non-stab, and you don't have too much special attack. I'm able to take that nicely. And he eats his last meal there of some leftovers, a nice little half-rotten apple. And a Leaf Blade is going to go ahead and cut that thing into some pieces. So that's going to be the end of the match there. I thought that was a pretty fun one. Definitely got lucky on that Rock Slide miss on the Magmortar, which is quite unfortunate. But still, it was a good match, and I've been having fun with this team. So thank you guys for watching. Go ahead and hit that like button on this video if you enjoyed. And as always, subscribe for some more Wi-Fi battles. Peace out.